Have you ever felt completely betrayed by someone you trusted? Like your whole world was turned upside down by a single act of jealousy? Today, we're diving into one of the most powerful stories of betrayal, forgiveness, and incredible resilience ever told. The story of Joseph being sold into slavery by his very own brothers. This isn't just an ancient tale. It's a profound look at how even the darkest moments can be part of a much bigger divine plan. Stick with me, because this story might just change the way you see the challenges in your own life. Let's set the scene. We're in the land of Canaan, thousands of years ago. Meet Jacob and his 12 sons. Now Jacob had a clear favorite, Joseph, his son born in his old age. To show his affection, Jacob gave Joseph a stunning, multicolored coat. This wasn't just any piece of clothing. It was a symbol of favor, a mark of distinction that set him apart from his 11 older brothers. While it was a gift of love from a father to the brothers, it was a constant, vibrant reminder that they were second best. Now, add a couple of dreams into this already tense family dynamic. Joseph, still young and perhaps a bit naive, had two powerful dreams. In the first, he and his brothers were binding sheaves of grain in a field, and suddenly, his sheaf stood upright while his brothers' sheaves gathered around and bowed down to it. Can you imagine telling your already jealous siblings that? Well, he did. And if that wasn't enough, he had a second dream. This time, he saw the sun, the moon, and 11 stars bowing down to him. He shared this one with his brothers and his father. Even Jacob, who loved him dearly, rebuked him, saying, "What is this dream you had? Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come and bow down to the ground before you?" The dreams were clear prophecies of Joseph's future authority, but to his brothers they sounded like pure arrogance. Their jealousy simmered, and soon it would boil over into outright hatred. The breaking point came on a seemingly ordinary day. Jacob sent Joseph to check on his brothers, who were grazing their flocks near Shechem, quite a distance away. After searching for them, Joseph finally found them in a place called Dothan. From a distance, his brothers saw him coming, instantly recognizable in his famous coat. And in that moment, a dark conspiracy was born. "Here comes that dreamer," they sneered to one another. "Let's kill him and throw him into one of these cisterns and say that a ferocious animal devoured him. Then we'll see what comes of his dreams." It was a chilling plan, driven by years of festering resentment. But Reuben, the eldest, had a sliver of conscience. He suggested they just throw Joseph into an empty well, secretly planning to come back later and rescue him. He couldn't stomach the idea of having his brother's blood on their hands. So, when the unsuspecting Joseph arrived, his brothers wasted no time. They violently stripped him of his beautiful coat, the very symbol of their envy, and threw him into the cold, dark pit. Imagine the terror and confusion Joseph must have felt. One moment he was on a mission from his father, the next he was at the bottom of a well, betrayed by his own flesh and blood. And what did his brothers do? They sat down to eat a meal, seemingly unfazed by their horrific act. As they were eating, they saw a caravan of Ishmaelite traders heading towards Egypt. It was then that Judah, another brother, had a better idea. "What will we gain if we kill our brother and cover up his blood?" he argued. "Come, let's sell him to the Ishmaelites and not lay our hands on him. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood." It was a cold, calculated move. It spared them from being direct murderers, but it was a betrayal just as deep. They could profit from their brother's life while getting rid of him forever. The other brothers agreed. They pulled a terrified Joseph out of the cistern and sold him for 20 shekels of silver, the price of a common slave. The traders took him, bound him, and began the long journey to Egypt, tearing him away from his home, his family, and everything he had ever known. His life had been shattered in a single afternoon. To cover their tracks, the brothers staged a truly cruel deception. They took Joseph's coat, slaughtered a goat, and dipped the beautiful garment in its blood. They then brought the torn and blood-stained coat back to their father Jacob. "We found this," they said with false innocence. "Examine it to see whether it is your son's coat." Jacob recognized it immediately. His heart broke. The conclusion was obvious and devastating. "It is my son's coat," he cried out in anguish. "A ferocious animal has devoured him. Joseph has surely been torn to pieces." Jacob was inconsolable. He tore his clothes and put on sackcloth, the ancient symbol of deep mourning. His sons and daughters tried to comfort him, but he refused, vowing to grieve for his lost son until the day he died. The brothers had not only gotten rid of Joseph, they had plunged their own father into a living nightmare of sorrow, a grief that would last for over 2 decades. Meanwhile, Joseph was taken to Egypt, a foreign land with a foreign language and foreign gods. He was sold in the slave market to Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's high-ranking officials, the captain of the guard. From a beloved son to a slave in a strange land, the fall was dramatic and absolute. It would have been so easy for him to fall into despair, to become bitter and resentful. But this is where Joseph's true character begins to shine. Even in the house of a stranger, as a slave, Joseph didn't give up. The scripture tells us that the Lord was with Joseph. He worked diligently and with integrity, and everything he touched seemed to prosper. Potiphar saw this. He noticed that this young Hebrew slave was not only hard-working but also incredibly capable and blessed. Soon, Potiphar promoted Joseph, putting him in charge of his entire household. Joseph went from being the lowest slave to the most trusted manager, overseeing all of Potiphar's affairs. But Joseph's story is a series of peaks and valleys. Just as things were looking up, he faced another immense trial, one that would test his integrity to its core. But that's a story for our next video. For now, let's reflect on what we've seen. A story that starts with jealousy and a colorful coat spirals into betrayal, a faked death and a life of slavery. It's a gut-wrenching tale. But it is also the critical setup for one of the most incredible redemption stories of all time. Joseph's brothers thought they were ending his dreams, but in reality, they were the unwitting instruments that set them in motion. They intended it for evil, but a higher purpose was already at work, turning their act of hatred into the first step of a divine plan to save their entire family, and indeed, a nation. This story reminds us that even when we face betrayal or find ourselves in situations that feel like a dark pit, it may not be the end. It might just be the beginning of a different chapter, one that is preparing us for a future we can't yet see. Thanks so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into these timeless tales. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time.